Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Friday, June 20th, about 8:45 at night. And this will be the Friday recap video for our two weekly paying YieldMax funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. Quick update, we're up to 874 subscribers. I still haven't figured out how to show you the other part from YouTube Studio other than what's on my phone, but I'll start providing updates on that as well. And a reminder, if you want heads up when the videos are coming out, as well as the YieldMax distribution declarations, I'm on X at ETF_inspector1. If anybody was around about 10 days ago, I said it was my youngest's birthday, so finally having the birthday celebration for her. So if a herd of stampeding elephants comes running through or overhead while I'm recording this in the basement, that's what it is. We've got a house full of little girls from the soccer team over having some fun. So also why I'm running late, because we were just doing cake. So okay, but let's take a look. We'll start just to talk about how things went. You got a pretty good mixture of red and green on the screen throughout ULTY and LFGY. ULTY itself up to 620. So today was X date, so it's going to start down 8.75 cents due to the distribution. So it actually climbed back up a little bit from there. LFGY similarly opened up whatever it was, 46 I think ish cents down for the distribution, and climbed back up a little portion of that, ending at 38.75. That's your closeout for the week. I switched it up rather than scrolling up and down through this for the biggest winner and loser, and I marked them on the page that you're used to seeing for the actual funds. So just an idea, right? Fridays are always the crazy day because every fund that hasn't already rolled by Friday has to do all the rest of the rolls. So we scroll down, we download the intraday trades file from the YieldMax website. We scroll down and we first get to ULTY. You can see starts on line 346. Goes to 431, so nearly 100 trades. Definitely not the worst day we've ever had. And then skip a little further to get to LFGY. Starts on line 472 and goes to 556, roughly 80-ish trades. So we've got about 180 trades to go through. We'll try to go through them quick. We should be able to make it a little quicker than usual because we don't need to talk about where our options stand in or out of the money on this Friday video. The week's over. For the most part, things have been rolled. We don't need to talk about next week's stuff yet. We'll do the week look ahead on Sunday for that. So we're going to start with trades, but real quick, we'll just hit the highest and the lowest. Circle Internet Group, the biggest gainer for ULTY, up 20.39%. And Oklo Inc., down 6.56. That's the biggest loser for ULTY. All right, let's get into the trades. So they sold a little bit of Circle Internet Group. Not all their shares. We're not out of it. Just cashing some out because this one blew through the roof unbelievably. I think they said on the radio it was up like 500% since its IPO like a handful of days ago. Last week maybe, but we did sell out of eToro Group. So if you noticed on the thumbnail where I color them red or green based on whether they were up or down for the day, there's a line through eToro because we sold all our shares, so we won't be trading options on eToro. All right, for the most part it's going to be rolls, so we'll just get right into it. AppLovin closed their 375s for next week and rolled them down to 345s still next week, paying 80 cents, collecting $4.27 a share. So they're being more aggressive. Yes, it brings more premium here, but if it gets blown through and we got to pay to close them next week, it's going to be costly. But we'll see. $285,000 win. AST Space Mobile closed out their this today. 43s, paid $270 for them. Sold 50s for next week. So obviously the stock ran beyond that. So only collected $1.31. So lost $1.2 million on that. Circle Internet Group. This one burned me. So come back tomorrow for my Saturday, my personal trades video to hear the fiasco I went through with Circle Internet Group. But I got smoked. But anyway, there's a lot of closing, open, closing. It was brutal. All you need to know is the stock IPO'd something like $40-ish and closed today at like 245. So you're not going to get it right no matter how many times you try. So let's see. Eventually settled on 260s for next week. But all in all, just absolutely got smoked. $4.6 million loss on Circle Internet Group. eToro, not a roll, just closing out the options that we had because we're done trading them. Lost $2,000, no big deal. First Solar closed our 150s for this week, opened 152.50s for next week. Closed for 17 cents, open for 278. That's a win, $105,000 profit. Hims and Hers, we closed out our 60s and 61s for today and opened 66s and 68s for next week. So obviously the price blew past that. Collecting $1.27 to $1.43, but paying $2 to $3, $750,000 loss. Robin Hood, we closed out our 76s and 77s for today, opened up 80s and 81s. So anytime we're rolling up and out, we know we lost. That one's probably not a loss, paying 66 cents to close. We probably collected more than that. We could scroll up, but I don't need to make this video take forever. But either way, $200,000, $236,000 loss. IonQ, we closed out our $40.50 and $42.09 each. Didn't mean to do that. Opened up 42.50s and 43.50s next week for 70 and 86 cents. That's a win, $224,000. MicroStrategy closed our 380s for this week, opened 375s for next week, paying 35 cents, collecting $6.70. This line's how many contracts, right? This is the price per share. There's 100 shares in a contract, so that's how the multiplication happens. $250,000 profit. NVIDIA, we closed our 144s for this week for 202. We opened 148s for next week, 143, losing $126,000. A lot of these, it's a shame because we were coming into today looking good, and then a lot of these stocks just had big days on the last moment, costing us money. Palantir, we closed our 142s for this week. We opened 142s for next week. Nice and easy. 11-cent debit, $2.16 credit, $163,000 profit. Rigetti closed our 12.50s for a penny. Opened 12s for next week for 26 cents. Quarter difference. $218,000 profit. Tempest AI closed our 76s for 7 cents. Opened 74s for next week for $1.43. Almost $200,000 profit. TNA, that's a triple leveraged fund that we have for the small cap bulls. Closed our 32.50s for this week for 4 cents. Opened 32.50s for next week, 62 cents, $159,000 profit. TQQQ, that's the triple leveraged pro shares, I believe, QQQ. Closed our 76s for this week for 3 cents. Opened 76s for next week, 78 cents. Can't beat it. 86,000. We just don't have a ton of contracts there. Tesla, let's see, closed our $337.50 for today, 5 cents. So we know we won that trade. Opened the same strike price for next week, collecting $552, $113,000 profit. And Vistra Corp closed our 177.50s for 533. Opened 190s for next week for 261, losing 273,000. So if we scroll up, trading today, we lost $5.4 million trading. The vast majority of that is because Circle went through the roof. They're 4.6 million of the loss out of the total 5.4. All right, we'll go through the shares. So like I said, generally if you're new here, we've got color coding for how far in or out of the money. We're worried about the options. I'll generally have color coding here if the options just got swapped out and we talked about them in the trades. But since it's Friday, we just want to know how everything closed. We got a week look ahead coming on Sunday, and that'll tell us everything we need to know about our options moving forward, because all the holdings over here are going to update tomorrow morning. So we'll get rid of everything that's expired. We'll have everything that's current going into the week, and we'll talk about our percentages on that one. So we know the trading ranges that we need to trade within. So we'll just talk about changes today, value-wise. So Applied Digital up over 10% to, or no, I'm sorry, down 2.64% to 1033. It was a $413,000 decrease in value. AppLovin lost 5.71% to 324.70. That was an $826,000 decrease in value. AST Space Mobile up almost 3.6% to 45.94. Over $1 million profit, increase in value. Right, we didn't sell the shares, so it's not a realized gain. These are just changes in value. Coinbase up 4.43% to 308.38. That's an $824,000 increase. Circle Internet Group. So as always, right, no matter how bad they get smoked on the options, because the stock went up too much, the value goes up more than the loss for the options. So we lost 4.6 million on the options, and we increased our value by 5.6 million, almost 5.7, because they went up another 20% today to 240.28. eToro, we don't care what they did. We sold out of the fund. We're not in there anymore. Let's see, 59.50. So we didn't even get that good of a price. We sold them at 58.86. They closed at 59.50. So we actually lost more than 496,000 because we didn't sell at the top. First Solar up 0.3% to 145 even. It's a $126,000 increase in value. Hims and Hers up 5.16% to 64.22. That's a 1.3, almost $1.4 million increase. Robinhood up 0.19% to 78.50, a $54,000 increase. IonQ up 1.84% to 40.36, kept them just right under there to close them cheap. $438,000 increase. LabU, that's a triple leveraged fund, down almost 1% to 56.18, $130,000 decrease. Mara Holdings down 1.17% to 14.32, $182,000 decrease. MicroStrategy, hopefully you guys can't hear that piano being played above me. I'll try to talk loud. MicroStrategy up 0.18% to 369.70, a $34,000 increase. NVIDIA Corp down 1.12% to 143.85, a $286,000 decrease. Oklo, the big loser, 6.56% decrease, 57.95 closing price, $1.6 million decrease in value. Palantir down 1.9% to 137.30, a $473,000 decrease. Reddit down 1.42% to 139.15, $428,000 decrease. Rigetti down 2.56% to 11.06, a $485,000 decrease. Sounds like I'm saying a lot more decreases than increases here. I didn't count them, but it just feels that way. RH down 0.13% to 188.85, a $16,000 decrease. Supermicrocomputer up 1.91% to 45.32, a $323,000 increase. Tempest AI down 1.14% to 68.31, $211,000 decrease. Our next triple leverage fund, TNA, down 0.64% to 3082, $132,000 decrease. The final triple leveraged fund, TQQQ, down 1.37% to 7245, $337,000 decrease. Tesla up a fraction, 322.16. They went up, what's that, 9, 10, 11 cents. $9,000 increase. Upstart down 1.81% to 5801. It's a $470,000 decrease. Vertiv down almost a 0.5% to 118.54. $56,000 decrease. And this is the first time, now I can stop talking about it every time if you've been watching the videos and getting annoyed. Vertiv went down while Vistra Corp went up. First time I've seen them do the opposite. Vistra Corp up 2.19% to 185.10, a $381,000 increase. So although there were a whole lot more decreases than increases, basically Circle did enough to take care of everything. The value of the fund went up by almost $3.7 million. All right. We already talked about it. So this isn't current. It'll be current tomorrow. The holdings always come out the day after to settle all that. But since our last trading day, so from Wednesday, there was an increase in outstanding shares of 6.6 million, bringing us up over 90 million outstanding shares. All right, so make sure you come back on Sunday for I'll update all the IVs, all the weightings will update. Well, the weightings already do update, and we'll have the average updated for the IV. We'll do our guesstimate on what we think ULTY will pay out based on trading this week. Okay, so now let's go over to LFGY. It's our crypto and tech portfolio. How'd I do it? I think I started with the biggest winner and loser, so we don't even have to scroll far. Coinbase was the big winner, 4.43% increase, and BitDeer was the big loser, 4.37% decrease. So pretty similar. All right. So when they buy and sell shares a whole lot more often, as you can see, right, we have millions of dollars in each share, in each underlying stock. So we know right off the bat, we didn't actually sell out of any of the funds. We just sold a portion of each. Now, I thought it was interesting. I don't consider this the options income, right? Because they buy and sell shares all the time, but it's options income is the name of the game, right? So I only total the options income, not the shares. But I thought it was interesting, right? We said they lost money trading last week, and they paid us 46 cents a share. So I totaled up, everything that they sold. Today was X day, so if you had the shares today, you couldn't have bought them today, but if you already had the shares today on X date, normally that would be Thursday, but Thursday was a holiday. So if you had them today, full day, I believe you could have actually sold them today. You just had to start the day with them, and not having had bought them in the pre-market, you'll qualify for that distribution. You'll get it on Monday instead of today. But I thought that number seemed familiar because I was totaling things before, so I totaled it to $1.6 million. I divided it by the distribution, 46.84, and it came out to about 3.5 million, 3.6 million. I jumped over here and I said, oh, there's 3.5 million shares. So pretty sure they specifically sold this chunk of shares right here as to come up with the money to pay us that distribution. Otherwise, that's just an odd coincidence. But okay, as we get down here, so if they sold any shares, they always are trading the maximum amount of options that they possibly can. So if they have 100 contract, if they have 1,000 shares, they're going to have 10 contracts. So if you get rid of 9,900 shares, it's shares up here. I know that says contracts, but if we're talking about the stock, it's shares. If you get rid of 9,900 contracts, then you're going to have to get rid of, by the close, 99 contracts. So in a lot of these, there's just a buy to close and a sell of the other side of the credit spread. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you each of those totals because they were just forcing to close out options trades based on getting rid of the shares. But we will talk about the ones that rolled, okay? So first one that rolled the next week, they bought to close their 290s on coin and their 325s both for next week, and they sold 325s. That's odd. I don't know why they bought the close 325s for next week and they sold the open 325s. But anyway, it was a loss, right? Because they had to pay $20 per share on those 290s, and they were only collecting $481. So they lost $657,000 trading rolling coin. It's just because coin had a big day. Core Scientific, they closed out their 1250s and their other set to 1250s, and they opened 1250s for next week. Nice win, right? Closing them, paying 2 and 3 cents, opening for 23 and 18. So there's not a lot of money coming from them, but $120,000 profit. Robinhood's the next one they rolled, closing their 78s and 78s this week. We'll get into that for a second. For 13 cents and selling 79s for $1.32. But then they also closed. Oh, this is the 15. So I'm guessing they sold 1,500 shares of Robinhood. Robinhood 1,500 shares. So that's why they bought to close them. Okay. Overall profiting $77,000. Mara, they're closing their 16s for this week and opening 15s for next week, paying 2 and 3 cents, collecting 30 and 34 cents, profiting $102,000. Mercado Libre closed their $2,440 calls for today, opening $2,450 for next week, paying $2, collecting $19.80, $33,000 profit. MicroStrategy, they closed their 390s and their 392.50s for this week, and they opened 385s for next week, paying 6 and 9 cents, collecting $462 and $472. Nice big win, $156,000 profit. Riot, they closed their 1050s for this today and opened 1050s for next week. Again, paying 2 cents, collecting 17 and 18 cents, profiting $85,000. And finally, Tesla, they closed their 332.50s for 25 cents and opened 335s for next week for $583, $67,000 profit. Overall, losing $24,000. Sorry, I thought that was a gain. $24,000, almost $25,000 on the day options trading. So it looks like basically that first one, coin being the big winner that it was, really messed up today. And let's see. It wouldn't have been so bad, right? Coin basically went up 4.4 out of the 6% that it ended out in the money today. So it would have only been 2% in the money if it hadn't, not even, like 1.5% in the money if it wasn't for today, and this would have been a fraction of what it was. But it is what it is. All right. I think I said it, but LFGY closed at 38.75. And again, we'll just see how the values of the shares went throughout the day, and we'll talk about options and where we stand and everything like that, as well as distribution guesstimates based on all our numbers. We'll talk about all that in Sunday's week look-ahead video. All right, BitDeer, the big loser, 4.37% down to 1128, $184,000 decrease in value. Clean Spark down almost 2% to $9 even, $105,000 decrease. Coinbase, the big winner, 4.43% increase to 308.38, $840,000 increase. Core Scientific down 0.34% to 1186, $24,000 decrease in value. Galaxy Digital down almost 1% to 1886, a $19,000 decrease. GameStop up 0.09% to 23.46. What'd they go up? 2 cents. $3,000 increase in value. Robinhood up 0.19% to $78.50, $15,000 increase. Hut 8 Corp down 1.94% to $16.70, $126,000 decrease. iShares IBIT, the iShares Bitcoin Trust, down 0.5% to $58.67, $63,000 decrease. Mara Holdings down 1.17% to $14.32, $113,000 decrease. MBTX, it went down. We don't care about the percentage, and we don't have a change in value of the shares because we don't actually own any shares. They just do options on these without owning shares. Mercado Libre up a fraction to $24.03.81, $2,000 increase. MicroStrategy up 0.18% to $369.70, $25,000 increase. NU Holdings, I don't know why their name, NU Holdings Limited / Cayman Islands. NU Holdings down 0.82% to $12.14, $41,000 decrease. Another $41,000 decrease from Nvidia, going down 1.12% to $143.85. Opera down almost 3% to $18.03, $164,000 decrease. PayPal up 2.16% to $70.05, $77,000 increase in value. Riot Platforms down 3.82% to $956, $241,000 decrease. Tesla up a fraction, $322.16, $2,000 increase. And finally, Block up 0.79% to $63.59, a $25,000 increase. So all in all, almost flat, $133,000 decrease on the day. So, or roughly $135 million fund. We'll find out tomorrow if any more outstanding shares were added, but currently we have 3.5 million. So our NAV is not lined up yet with our price. So as of tomorrow morning, it's going to end up coming within a couple cents. But okay, so that's everything. So now you know how ULTY and LFGY finished out their week trading. So again, Sunday I'll make the guesstimate for the distribution. Just got the dad joke of the day left. Before I do, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, appreciate everything. Please like it. If you click the like button if you liked it, click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please share it with somebody you know that has ULTY or LFGY or is interested, because I don't know how many things there are out there where you can basically on a daily basis see every dollar, how it was spent, and whether it's making or losing money. So, but okay, I'll go with, I got 2 calendar jokes since we had a day off yesterday. So I'll go with this one. Why shouldn't you play poker in the jungle? Too many cheetahs. Thought it was going to be something about somebody lying, but okay. I hope you have a great weekend. Come back tomorrow for my trades video if you're interested, and Sunday for the week look ahead and distribution guesstimate. Good night.